The ultimate goal throughout human history has been progression, whether it be progress in human relations, progress in scientific fields, or progress in how we understand the universe around us. Since the beginning of time, we've progressed a lot. We've done a great job of making technological advances and increasing the way we understand the universe around us. We've made great progress in many fields, including our economies. However, I would like to say that the way we've gone about this progress may actually limit how we may progress in the future. Let's look at perhaps the greatest push for progress in human history, the start of the Industrial Revolutions. The Industrial Revolutions allowed for many economies around the world to evolve. The whole purpose was to produce enough to be able to trade and make a profit. Through this, we saw major economic shifts, the development of the world economy and development of minor economies throughout the world. Also, we saw a major job shift. Everything was focused on production and progression throughout the economy and workers. So this led to globalization in the future because through this, economies were able to develop. We got technological advances that allowed us to connect more. Cultures started diffusing. This led to the globalization I mentioned earlier. This globalization led us to conform to a sort of popular culture. This popular culture was all based around progression and economic success. So this progression wanted us to only produce at any means necessary. We didn't have time anymore to think things through or to think about progress itself even. So this stopped progress, really. Let me explain. Throughout history, the main events and main people in history used thought as a main push for progress in many fields. For example, the Renaissance was a revival of culture, sort of, in Europe. This was the revival of philosophy and free thinking separate from the government. This is looked at as a great cultural event throughout all of world history. Also, some main people, such as Albert Einstein, used thought to progress fields such as science. The whole realm of physics was created through Albert Einstein's thought experiments. He didn't actually perform any real-life experiments, but more so sat in a chair and thought about the world around him and what he already knew. He developed many groundbreaking theories on light, and such as the theory of relativity and theory of space-time. This pushed science to a new level that we haven't seen before. However, today, we don't have that anymore. Think about in schools. We're taught to do the work and not really think about how this connects to the bigger picture or what else goes on. And then we're prepared for office jobs where we do the work, we have an expiration date, we do it, we turn it in, and it's done. And this allows us to produce and keep growing economically. However, like I've mentioned, many times it's thought and human expression that allows for this growth to even occur in the first place. So this is like a minor case of what's happened in the past. Back during the wars, there was sort of anti-intellectualism. This is when cultural and philosophical and intellectual views were suppressed during the war times. Mostly it was because these artists or philosophers were anti-war or anti-government, and the government wanted to suppress this as much as possible during the war so they could continue what they were trying to do. Painters, artists, poets, anything of that sort were not allowed anymore. Also, philosophers were no longer tolerated. Of course, these days, we don't have that anymore. You're allowed to be whatever you want, and it's actually encouraged to be creative and to think and to do stuff like that. But is it really? Think about it. In popular culture, you might see a lot of people that think painting isn't a real profession, or that sitting around and thinking might not be a real job, and it might not actually help you and your family, or something like that. But that's where we need to change again. We need to adapt to be able to grow in the future. We need to start valuing thought more like we used to in the past. Philosophy needs to have a rebirth. Cultural expression needs to have a rebirth, especially during these trialing times where cultures are clashing. Other than that, we've made a lot of progress, and now we could push for even better, even greater. In fact, the Industrial Revolution was started by just a thought.